Gang, we know that there's a lot of information going on in terms of the wireless frequencies and what kind of behavior is occurring there, the different channels that are there, the 2.4 gigahertz or the 5 gigahertz. But I don't want you to take my word for it. We can actually see that in many of our access points. So for example, if we open up a Meraki cloud-based access point that is currently running, we can actually observe, oh, okay, here's what it sees in terms of contentious channels, RF frequencies, competing signals, client access, all of this sort of thing. So let's take a look. We're at the Meraki login here, so I'm going to jump in as an admin. And we're going to head here. This cloud-based environment allows us to build networks of different access points. And we can do all sorts of things in terms of, for example, observing those access points. This one's in beta right now, but it's very cool. It gives us kind of a quick peek as to what's going on. We can see, again, access points, public IP, LAN components that it's working with, where it's located, make sure we got the right one that we're talking about, a certain serial number. Over here, we can see clients that are currently accessing it. So we can see that there are live clients currently in use on this. And then we have some historical data to be able to review that as well. Now, we can also jump here to the RF spectrum, and this will give me a live updating view of the RF frequencies, right? And this is really what I want to focus your attention on is, okay, here's the 2.4 gigahertz range, and we can see the various different percentages of channel utilization that are out there. Okay, so what's in use as we see it across that. And remember, there's overlap in certain ranges, so we're going to see that as it plays out. Here's the 5 gigahertz range as well. A lot more numbers. And of course, remember, the access point is just going to skip over those particular frequency channels that are not available to be used. And we can see overall utilization down there, mesh neighbors, some other things that we're not looking at right now. Let me hop over back to our monitoring section over here. And this time, let's go ahead and focus in not just on access points, but the RF spectrum itself. Now, we're going to do that relative to a live access point, but this is going to be the in-depth view of frequency utilization. So we can see our utilization at the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz ranges are overall low, right? So there is some utilization, but not too much. We can see what channels are being used by this particular access point, and if we follow the link, we get to dive right on in. So here we see we're focusing on the 2.4 gigahertz frequency, and we see certainly it looks like channel 6 has a bit of a spike relative to some of these others. So this is kind of a real-time display. Notice the relative decibels that we're observing here, working our way up. And this is giving us a time frequency to see those channels and the density of communication that's occurring there. Take a look down here. We can again see the channels and their utilization. Honestly, pretty as those graphs are at the top, these kinds of numbers are often going to be easier for me to quickly respond to. And we can see that utilization, this is broad-based utilization. This is anything that's competing at those levels, whatever the generation source might be. When we focus on interfering access points, we can actually see specifically which access points are out there and what are the what's their strength of signal relative to the access point that's listening in and hearing it. So we see all sorts of different things. So again, the larger the negative number, the less the strength is. There's those channels that it's operating at. And of course, if I want to sort by channel, I certainly can. And we can take a look through this. So you can see I am able to detect quite a few different access points going all the way out to, if we take a look, sort negatively here, we've got a bunch of access points here with a negative 90, negative 89, so just barely being able to you probably wouldn't even see these in a client, but the access point is saying, hey, even though your strength of signal isn't good enough that you would want to use it, it's out there. And so it's something to be aware of. And that's what makes this so powerful, to be able to detect what's going on. Let's jump over to the 5 gigahertz. It's very similar, but now, of course, we're looking at the channels available in the 5 gigahertz frequency range. Again, currently I'm using 48, so it makes that bold, just so I've got a reference point there. We can see, again, strength of signal over time. So again, it's got kind of a 3-minute circle that is telling me in terms of how that signal's occupying those channels. And once again, we have interfering access points. So which access points are doing what, and seeing the strengths that are out there. And then just overall utilization across all those channels, whether that's from access points or Doppler or any other competing source of 5 gigahertz communication. So we can observe all of that. So you can see this is a very powerful tool just to quickly see, oh, okay, here's the spectrum of what's in use. And when I'm making a choice, when I'm actually going to configuration of these access points and say, I want you to use a particular channel, I can look at this and say, well, I certainly shouldn't be using channel 36 because I see that that already has a relatively high utilization. If I look here at, and we sort by channels, and you can see different channels that are in use. We can filter that down, and if we want, we can see, oh, look at that, channel 36. No access points are sending out data on channel 36, and yet my utilization is 19%. Like I said, this is why you want to have the whole picture of what's out there in terms of competing signal, not just, oh, I know I've got this access point set to this channel and this access point set to this channel, therefore I shouldn't have any problems. You might still have problems. Maybe instead of going down from a particular access point when adding a neighbor, you should go up so that you're not competing with other signal in the area.